Okay, I just want to make sure this microphone's working. Can you hear me through the testing 1, 2? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, good morning, everybody. Um, my name is Dr. Milner, and I am your instructor for MAT1033 Intermediate Algebra. We're all in the right place, right? Okay, good. I am double masked when I'm dealing with you because my husband is extremely high risk. And even though we're both vaccinated, his doctors advise us to be very cautious. So that's what I'm going to do this semester, okay? And try to be careful and all that stuff. And you do whatever you need to do to, feel comfortable and safe and all that. I realize we're in little tight quarters in this room. They've got 30 of you in here, I think, so far, and supposedly have room for 5 more. So they could add a few students to us, but we'll find out. They're not supposed to after today, but sometimes it happens. I have provided you with, and you should have, 3 handouts and this guided notes book. And today I'm going to walk you through what we're going to do this semester and how we're going to do it, and what you need to do in your Blackboard shell. I also want to tell you that we are Echo 360 recording all of these lectures, okay? So it takes about 45 minutes after the class ends before it actually uploads into Blackboard. You know what, it's not going to upload at all until I add it. Okay, somebody before we leave here remind me to add that to our screen, because they are recording today, but it won't upload until I add that tool to you. So, okay, I'll get that done today. But you should be able to click on the Echo 360 links in Blackboard as soon as I load it, and then you'll be able to see every lesson. So if I go too fast, which will happen on occasion, we're covering an awful lot of material in here, and you are coming to intermediate algebra from all different places. Some of you may be coming straight out of high school, and so this is familiar stuff, but you need a refresher, or you need a little bit beefing up before you go on to college algebra. Some of you may have been out of math for a while, and this is all going to be relatively new, or, boy, it's been a long time since I factored a quadratic equation type of stuff, okay? What we all are coming from is different places. What we all have to end up in is the same place. And that's why for some of you this is going to seem really fast. And you're going to feel like, man, I can't keep up. And that's why we're recording, because you can go back and listen to it again, okay? And now, I understand going into this that for some of you that's going to be extra work, and there's nothing I can do about it. The basic bottom line is you're going to get out of this class exactly what you put into it. If math is hard for you, then I would block off some extra time, because this one will take you some time, okay? If it's really easy and you pick it up and you can go forward, and, I'm okay with whatever you can do there. I just want you to be prepared for college algebra when you leave here, and that is the goal of this class. So let me just make sure all of you are headed into, you're here because you need college algebra, right? Yeah? Pretty sure? Okay. If not, see me, because that might be that this is not the class that you have to take. I mean, I understand some of you are here because you want to go on into something else, but this might not be the class you have to take. And hopefully you've all seen your advisors and you're in the right class, okay? All right, good. That gets us off to the right start. I want to start with roll, if I may. I don't usually do this, and I may change it into a quickly roll, which you can check in on your phone and all that stuff. And I may just put a sign-in sheet, which is what I used to do before the pandemic started, put a sign-in sheet so that you can just sign in as you come in, okay? And that's really easy for me, and I kind of like that method. If you don't feel comfortable signing the sign-in sheet, you just tell me later that you're here, and I'll sign it for you. That might be what we do, okay? But for today, let me just start, and I'm sorry, I will probably massacre your name the first day. It's just the way it is. But I think it's Jenny. Jenny, okay, good, thank you. Ashley, and I'm starting, of course, alphabetically with your last name. So Dominic, good, thank you. Alicia, Belmont, nope, okay. Taylor, thank you. Henry, great. And Jason, great, thank you. Holden, thank you. Lauren, very good. Okay, Ladvania, good. I'll probably try that again. Okay, is it Clyberson? Is that what you go by? Okay, great. Okay, Woosperth, did I say that wrong? Okay. Damaris, Maya, Lanos, Maya, okay, good. Daniel, Lopez, did I get you? Is it Lopez? Okay, so for some reason they've got your first name as in Workday as starting with an I. Did you know that? Okay, well, anyway, you might kind of look at it. Okay, Eric, good. Mila, Menendez, not here. Okay, Sydney, good, thank you. Dan, great. I've got Valerie, very good. Jason, Patterson, okay. Travis, thank you. Chanel, is that okay? Yes. Okay, great. Elijah, good, thank you. Adriana, very good. Silas, thank you. Sage, okay, your names are so easy. Okay, Angelina, sometimes I really can't pronounce things. Michael, Bakula, Michael, okay, good. Abram, excellent. Did I miss anyone? Okay, excellent. Let me just do a real quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 7 of you, and I should be missing 1, 2. Okay, looks like we're off to a good start. All right, I want to start out with looking at some of the things I gave you. Let's talk about the syllabus first, okay? Let's see if I can switch gears up here. This is a new classroom for me, so I'm having to get used to it. Give me a minute. Think I got it? How about that? First time. All right, your syllabus basically tells you a lot about the course and about the stuff that you may not think you need today, but you may want to refer back to. I would make a notebook. I've tried to 3-hole punch a lot of stuff for you. I would make a notebook, and I would put this in the beginning of my notebook and bring it with you. Basically, this is how you can get in touch with me. Email, phone number. My office is here in this building. It's downstairs on the first floor. It's on the other side of the stairs, okay? There's a suite of offices called 103, and then you have to go through that door, which I'm just going to warn you, that door is a push, don't pull door. I've had students call me all the time from the hallway saying they can't get through the door and they're trying to pull it. Push, and you'll get in, okay? And you push through that when you're in a little, what is called, a little waiting area, and then you have to go through another locked door, and then you finally get to my office. Just keep going. You'll get there, okay? It's 103, and you'll see my name is out in the hall on the sign there, and I'm in 103G, so I'm just as soon as you get through all the doors, I'm right there. Office hours, I do have some office hours set up in Blackboard for you if you go under instructor information, and we'll do that in a minute. You'll see when my in-class or my in-office hours are. And then I've also got what we call virtual office hours, where I will be sitting at my computer with my .cam ready, and I will be inside Blackboard Collaborate. Has everybody been in Blackboard Collaborate? We've had a year of being inside virtual learning, right? So have you done this before or not? Okay, so let me just say, if you have not ever been in Blackboard Collaborate, raise your hand for me. Okay, so we're going to do an extra credit opportunity for you guys, okay? We're going to get into Blackboard Collaborate and let you see what it's like. You do need a webcam, you need a microphone on your home computer, but we can talk back and forth. In fact, if you have a problem that you can't figure out how to work it, I can do it on my dock camera and show it to you step by step as I talk you through it. So it gives you a way to have your questions answered without having to come into the office, okay? So I've got some hours set up for Blackboard Collaborate office hours, and they're at night, and they're on Sunday and on Tuesday in the evenings, okay? So I think it's usually pretty flexible. And as we get close to test and things, you might want to, as I'm preparing for the test and I have a question, you can pop in there. Okay, that works usually pretty well. We do have a math department website that you might want to check out. It has some resources for you. Let's go down to delivery method. We're going to meet 2 times a week. We're going to meet at 8 o'clock. You guys must be morning people. Yay? Yeah, good? No. Okay. You signed up for the class because what? It was the only one available? No? Why are you here at 8 o'clock? In person? Yeah, I understand that. We haven't had in-person classes in a while. I think it's been a year since I taught in person, like, not hybrid. So, yeah, I can understand that. Okay, so 8 o'clock, sorry. That's when we're here. And we'll do this twice a week. We'll do from 8 to 9:15 on Mondays and Wednesdays. We're going to do it in a flipped format, guys. The book I gave you, the guided notes book, is what you will do before you come to class. You want to bring that to class with you, okay? The guided notes book doesn't take the place of your textbook. It is going along with some video lectures that are out there that you're going to watch the lectures and fill in these notes as you go. And that's going to be your before class stuff, okay? Before you come to class. Now, I understand that this first part of this is going to be really easy. It's not going to be hard. It's going to all be refresher. If you haven't been in math for a long time, you may be really glad that it takes it a little slowly. But get into the habit of watching the videos, filling in the notes before you come to class. There's an opportunity for some credit here, like attendance type of credit that I can do, because I might go around sporadically and check to see if you have filled in those notes and you've been watching those videos. So that's something we will do before you come to class. Then when you come to class, I have another note packet I gave you, and this one goes all the way through test 1. Now this one is the stuff I'm going to do in class. Okay, so I wish I had had this all together and printed out before the semester started, but I didn't. So this is what we're going to talk about in class, and these are the extra examples that we're going to go over. It's a little bit abbreviated from what's in the guided notes, but when you put those two together, you've had quite a bit of algebraic instruction, all right? There's some other helps for you out there in my lab math if you need them, some other videos and stuff, but I'm hoping that this is going to be a really good format for you. So you'll watch them, fill in the guided notes before class, come to class, be sure you have that packet with you that I've just handed you, because that's what the pages we're going to work. Let's see. Okay. My lab math, you will need it. It comes with the full ebook. I don't know if you've already gotten your textbook from the Pearson textbook that goes with this course from the bookstore. And that's fine because it comes with the access code for my lab math for Pearson's lab. It's the online lab. That's where all of your homework and all of your quizzes will be, is in that. And so you'll be doing the work online in my lab math, and then I can check it. I can see it immediately. And if you have problems with a problem, I can pull it up and look at what you've done in that section. I can see how much time you spent on it. I mean, you can see a lot of things from in there that might be able to help us to understand where you're having trouble. But if you don't have the book with the code, then you can go straight in this weekend or this week, and you can just log in from our Blackboard site, and it'll come up and say, do you want to purchase an access code? And you can purchase the access code, and you will get access to the ebook that way. It's cheaper that way, and it's just up to you. If you want the textbook in front of you, you don't have to bring that textbook to class with you. It's really just for you to study and read on your own. If you don't have the money or you're just needing to wait for the book, there's 14-day free trial for this. So you must get in there this week, okay? You must get in there this week, and you must get started working before I see you again on Monday, right? Because that's the only way I'm going to know that you're staying in this class. I'm going to keep you in this class. And I think it says that right there. If you're a dual enrollment student, welcome. I don't think we have too many in this class, but if you are dual enrollment, your high school counselor should have a code for you, and get with them right away, because if they're slow getting it to you, that 2 weeks will expire. I don't have any codes. Pearson does not give me any free codes, okay? So that's where we are with My Lab Math. Okay, so required homework and quizzes, that's where they are, and I think I just said that. Your quizzes are timed, and they cannot be taken past the due date. The homework can always be taken. There is a late penalty for doing stuff late, so I want you to stay on top of these due dates. Please don't email me constantly and say, you know, my computer broke down, can you please extend? I usually don't extend 1 or 2 due dates. What I do is at the end of the semester, I give everybody a few credit points, you know, in case you ran late there. If you end up with COVID in the hospital, something like that, then we work something out individually, and I'll just handle that on a case-by-case basis, okay? Let's see, and that at the end of it, it says, I dropped the 2 lowest homework, the 2 lowest quiz scores, so if you miss a couple, you know, that you just couldn't get to, then those will not count against you, okay? There is something in My Lab Math, the very first thing, and I'll show it to you in a minute, that's a diagnostic exam. Required, if you're going to stay in the class, you have to take it, okay? Now, this exam is supposed to show us where you are right now. It is not counted as part of your grade, but it is very necessary. Now, listen, I just said it's not counted as part of your grade, and some students just go, oh, well, it doesn't matter what I put down, and so they just go through it and get it done. And then I end up doing a face-to-face meeting with them to see if they, you know, if we need to get them into the ASC lab for help. And basically, that's what we do with this diagnostic, is we see if you're really far behind, you know, where the course says you need to be in order to get started, then I need to get with you and see what's going on, okay? So there is something in Blackboard called Module 0. And Module 0 is a refresher, just a little refresher, before you take the diagnostic. If you feel uncomfortable and you want to look at that, then do it, okay? And it'll give you, you know, if you just need a little reminder of what these things were, well, that's not a lack of skill on your part. That's simply, I haven't been in math in a long time, okay? And so a little bit of help there might really help you, and I would say Module 0 is where it is. Let's see. Required for the course, I think I put down here at the very bottom, is, yes, you got to think positively about math. Most of the time I get my math students say to me, I hate math. I've never been good at math. I've always failed at math. I just want to get this over with, right? And I know, because I have 3 kids and 2 of them feel that way about math, and the 3rd one actually teaches math, so she evidently missed that part. And I know, I understand, but there's no way to the college degree except through the math requirement. You understand what I'm saying? There's no way around it. You must go through it. And this course is the basic, bottom line, nuts and bolts, how do I get through this math requirement that I've got to have? If you do well at this, if you put the time in with this, you can do well. I mean, this is not rocket science. This is simply algebra. And algebra can be learned. No matter what you think or what your mindset was when you took it back in high school or wherever you were that you took it, it can be learned, okay? So start fresh here and give us a chance, give yourself a chance to get this knowledge that you need. I'm not saying that you might not have to put in some extra work. I'm not saying that it might not take you all of your free time. It's only 1 semester. Give it up, okay? Whatever you're planning to do that you think is more important than this, decide. Is this the most important thing you're doing? Is college the most important thing you got to get off your list? Or do you really need to be out at the beach? Or whatever it is that's taking your priorities, okay? Make up your mind where you're going to go. If you decide in the next week that those priorities are more important, and maybe they are. Maybe you're working 3 jobs and you've got kids at home and maybe you just don't have time to devote, then drop the class before next Tuesday. It won't count against you. You get refunded your money. It'll be like you never even signed up, okay? And I'm saying that because some of you might have overloaded yourself, you know? And if you have overloaded yourself, you got a week to figure it out, or almost a week to figure it out during that drop period. Please call me if I can help you make a decision like that, if if you're struggling. I have had students that I've said, yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know where I would get the time if I were in your situation either to do this. Otherwise, if I see you next Wednesday, I expect that you have committed to doing the work, okay? And then we'll proceed like that. All of this is what I've just really said to you. You've got a lot of time that you're going to devote. This kind of gives you where we're going to go with it. You do need a green Scantron for the final exam. The other tests, they're all paper and pencil tests. I will be looking at your work on the problem, so if you just give me an answer and don't do work, it won't count, but that's not going to be hard for you. There is a withdrawal for non-attendance if you don't do anything within that first week, and there are 4 things listed down here for you to do. We'll go through those. You do have to take the diagnostic to stay in the class. For this class, it has to be done. You also need to go into Blackboard for me and go through the Start Here quiz. That's the only way you're going to get this information in Blackboard opened. And it won't open for you until you take that 10-question, easy to understand, it's not going to count as part of your grade, quiz that's going to basically say, have you read the information? You're sitting here listening to me, so you're probably going to be fine with the Start Here quiz. You need to set up the Pearson MyLab Math, and you need to work on Module 1, Homework 1, and Homework 2. They're short. They should be easy for you. It should be refresher stuff. I think I did all that. The only other thing I've got for you is I'd love an introduction. Usually don't do this except for with online classes, but I would love a little bit about you. It's nice for me to be able to go back and look at where you are, where you're headed, that type of thing. What do you want to do in life? You know, why are you here? Anything. Post that for me in the introductory discussion board in Blackboard. All this has to be done by the time of the 24th, please. Participation, attendance. I'm going to play this by ear because I'm not going to count this against you if you are sick or you've been exposed to COVID and you don't feel comfortable coming to class or something like that, okay? But we're going to have to do a case-by-case basis on this because none of us know where this semester is going to go, all right? Tests given in class. I do have a real problem if you miss a test this semester because the assessment centers here on campus are not open like they normally are, and I don't have a tendency to throw a test into an online environment for just because. So we would probably have to come up with another time for me to proctor your test if you miss a test. It's much better if you can show up here, and generally that's what that talks about. It tells you more about your grade on the next page. Withdrawal, that's the drop date, the 24th. So make up your mind, you know, about your classes, if you want to stay in them or not by that date. And then you have a withdrawal date, which is October 25th. And at that time, any of you can withdraw. Before that date, any of you can withdraw from the class unless this is like your third attempt or something. Then they don't let you withdraw, okay? So, but that's you. And incomplete grades, you know, unless you're doing well in the class and you just miss something like the last test or the last test in the final, I don't do incompletes. I don't just give them if you get halfway through the class. However, COVID has made some unusual circumstances for us, so we will also take that on a case-by-case basis, and I'll make up my mind as we see what you face this semester, okay? I'm going to put your announcements in Blackboard, and I have made Blackboard. Have you been into Blackboard? Okay, so good with that? Okay, so you have not? Okay, so we'll go through in a second. I have put your announcements in Blackboard as your home page. So as soon as you get into Blackboard, it's going to hit those announcements. The other thing I do is every time I put an announcement there, I send it to your email. That goes to your River Mail. If you want it to go to your personal mail, you have to go into your River Mail and say, prefer to use, and it'll send it to your Gmail or whatever, okay? That's that. Let's see, what else was I telling you? All communication with me will be done either in course messages or River Mail, okay? If I send you an announcement and it comes to your River Mail and you reply to me, it will come back to my email account. It will not go back into Blackboard. If you are talking to me in a course message in Blackboard, it goes back into Blackboard in course messages. Why do you care? Well, the only reason you care is I can't tell who you are, which class you're in, if it's in my email. If you're in my course messages, I know where you are. I don't have to go back and forth with you going, okay, which class are you taking? And you say intermediate algebra, and I say, which of my intermediate algebra classes you're taking? And we go back and forth like 3 emails for me to try and figure that out, okay? So email, you got to be more direct. I'm taking your Monday, Wednesday, you know, intermediate algebra class or 1033 class, and then I know. But if you're in course messages, you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me your name, okay? Because course message tells me all that. All right. This is about cheating and plagiarism. That's college policy, and I'm pretty sure you all know don't cheat. Right? Got that? Okay. Good. Let's go on to the next part. We've got students with disabilities. We do have student accessibility services, which hopefully if you have some sort of special needs with learning that you have already registered with them and they have your information, and if so, they have sent it to me. I don't act on it unless you see me privately and tell me you need certain things, okay? Otherwise, I have a lot of students that have special concessions that they say, I really don't need that, and so we just ignore it, okay? So let me know if you do. There's more policy and stuff, and also down here, Academic Support Center is probably the biggest help that I see students getting. Have you been over there? I mean, it's been a year where we haven't been open almost, but the Academic Support Center is now open. They do have they have math tutors, and they have math tutors that you can reserve a spot with. Okay, and so go on there and figure out their website, and if you need help, let me know. My daughter that teaches math in the high schools also tutors here once a week, so I have sort of an inside track to that ASC. So if you're not finding what you need, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Any questions on the syllabus? I know I'm covering a lot of information fast. Remember, this is being recorded, so if you need it, you go back and listen again, okay? You good? All right, let's go to the next thing, which is your schedule of assignments that I want to talk about. And I know it's tiny printing, but I wanted to get it all on one page. So here we are. And the way this reads is what we're covering in that day in class, and this would be first of my notebook if I were you. What we're covering that day in class is going to be policies, procedures. We're going to talk about the diagnostic review, and then you're going to need to take the diagnostic test by when? By the 22nd, okay? And then I'm going to also cover in class today, I'm going to talk about this little bit of work, and we're going to do 4 of those pages that I gave you, just 4 of them. And then you've got some homework that's due. This one needs to be done by the 22nd, and Module 1, Homework 1, which you'll find in My Lab Math. And then you're going to want to view some videos and everything before I see you in class. Now, which videos do you want to watch? The ones for Module 1 and Module 2, because that's what we're covering the next class period. Does that make sense? So you kind of have to look ahead and say, all right, before I see her, she wants me to have watched those videos and done the guided notes. And I'll try and help you out. I'll try and send out an announcement that says after each class, okay, before the next class, have this done. We'll do that for a couple of weeks just to get you started, okay? And so watch for announcements there. And then you go down to where we have a test review on the 13th of September, and then we're going to have our testing class. And that's the way it pretty much goes. This is fairly easy. I would use it like a little checklist. Actually, I made one of the classes like a checklist, and I may redo yours and make it that way for you so that you can just check off what you've done. But basically, watch these modules, the homework, and you're going to also watch over here is where it says quiz, right? And so you're going to want to make sure you have those done by those dates. And when you go into My Lab Math, the dates are there for you, so it won't be too hard. How's that? Are you good with this? Okay, so that's understood. Let's look at Blackboard. All right, so I have gotten into our Blackboard course shell, and I've actually gone into content. If I hit on the blue toolbar over here on this side, if I go to this blue toolbar, going up to this takes me back to the home page, okay? If I go to this blue toolbar, you'll see there's a lot of options for you. And this one is rather long. You might want to scroll down and look at all of the things that are available to you and where they are, because these are quick links. You can just click on this and go directly there in Blackboard. And I've made it so the announcements are first, and then I want you to go to Start Here, okay? So we go to Start Here, and it's going to tell you the stuff you need to do, mandatory attendance requirement. Yours isn't going to look exactly like this. Mine's in instructor mode right now. If I put it in student mode, it makes me take the Start Here quiz before it opens the content, so I just was being lazy. Syllabus, okay, that's what I've already given you. Schedule of activities, I've already given you, we've talked about. Instructor information, well, basically it says review it, and you're going to have to look for it, but it's over here in the blue toolbar. If I go to instructor information, it gives you, like I told you before, there's the office hours. If there's any need for me to make changes, I'll make it here. Permanent changes. If it's just a week-by-week change, I'll send you an announcement. But those are the virtual office hours. Okay, if you need other times, send me an email. You can also send me a course message in here. Let's go back down here. So we're going to work through. We're going to do the instructor information. You're going to do an introduction. You're just going to do that discussion and give me a few sentences about why you're here, what you're doing. And just help me figure you out, okay? It really helps me when I'm looking at the work you're doing and trying to figure out, where you're coming from. if I know you're working 3 jobs, or you're working nights and showing up here at 8 o'clock in the morning the next morning, I always seem to have students that are there. If you want the content to open, you got to take my little 10-question start here quiz that basically says you've been through all of this. And then there's some information about how to get started in MyLab Math, but I'm going to show you that too. Also, Blackboard, institution, course content stuff, that's hidden from you, so you don't really need that last one. Okay? Let's go over to content. Now, once again, I put start here at the top of it. Honor Lock test is not something you need because you're not in an online class. But ASE and library help, like I told you, these are some links that take you directly there. Go and explore because it's always nice to know where they are before you actually need them, all right? Test reviews, I'll post them on here. ASE is doing test reviews. They'll do test review every test. And you can watch them online, and after they finish, they always send me a link, and I always post it there. So you can go in there and get their personal test review. You can attend it virtually. I believe they're still doing them. And you can ask your questions, and they're pretty good at that. This you don't need. Calculator usage, we do have a calculator that you are allowed in this class. And it's plain scientific one. It's just the plain, simple at $5 at Staples calculator. You cannot use your scientific graphing calculator in here. If you have it, like I have it for my stat classes, that's not going to work for us. This is where we're going to go, okay? So, and for some of you, if you've been used to using something like this one might take a little getting used to, so there's some calculator, help in there. There's also a way to take a fraction and reduce it to lowest terms, things like that your calculator will do for you that you might not have known it would do for you, so that might be worth it. Then there's my Math Lab Quick Start information again. Module 0, like I told you, is going to give you some problems from the diagnostics, some review materials. You can do, whatever you need to do in Module 0, as much or as little of it is what I'm saying. Let's go back here. And then I think it starts with the other modules listed. And that's probably it. Okay, so everything, like I said, is over here in this toolbox. And how do you get, one way you can get into all of your problems, let's just start. Let's say we're starting in Module 1. I want to do my notes and I want to watch my videos. Well, guys, the note pages are the ones in the guided notes book that I just gave you, okay? So you don't have to worry about the note template. You start the video. And once you've done the video, you're ready to go, and this is 2.1 to 2.5, you'll be ready to go into my lab math and do the homework. Now, my lab math, the first time you hit on it, is going to come up and ask you to sign in, where you're going to have your access code that you give it, or you're going to have your 2-week, or you're going to say, I need a 2-week temporary. And you do that immediately today, if possible, okay? And then you're going to go into, you'll come back up and you'll see math all assignments. That's always going to be your button. And you're going to see that I put all the dates that are in that list. I have put them here for you, okay? So, for example, you need to, by the 22nd, watch this video on how to enter answers. Let's just watch a little quick video on how to use MyLab Math, because entering answers there can be sometimes a challenge. You need to take the diagnostic test. It's timed at 90 minutes, so just be ready to finish it when you go in there and get started, okay? There's some post-diagnostic homework that is optional. That's why it has a due date out there of 12/3. And then there's another video here, a video check, which is a really quick little video. You can do it. Click on it even if you don't do it, please. If you've already done the video in here and you're happy with it, you did the one in Blackboard, and you feel comfortable, you really, just click on it and you don't have to really watch those, but it will help you if you need more instruction, okay? And then you're down there to the next part, which is the homework, okay? And the homework will look something like this. Questions, and you'll start with question 1. And that's it, okay? Fill in. The solution is all real numbers. The solution is, there's no solution, or whatever the solution is. And you'll type it in. Now, when you do click on this box, it opens up this tool. And that's why I'm entering answers in MyLab Math, that little video that helps you with this. It tells you what, if you need to enter a fraction, mixed number, something with the exponent, absolute value, square roots, all of that stuff. You can use those little tools, okay? And as we get into graphing, I'll go through a demonstration of those. Are you good? Sort of? Okay, so this is one of those cases of I don't know what I don't know until I hit it myself type of thing. So when you get there, you may have some questions. I'm going to leave that. I'm back in Blackboard now. Course messages. I will probably send you a course message in here just to make sure that you know how to use course messages. But bottom line is you can go in and create a message. Have you guys done all this? Anybody who hasn't done this before? Okay, so we're going to go in here and we're going to say to, and then it lists everybody in your class. If you want to send it to me, look for the one that says faculty. Move me over here to the recipient list. I mean, it's a little cumbersome as far as that goes, but then you have to put in a message, a subject, and you have to, type your message and say submit. After that, it's sort of generic. And then when you go back to course messages, you'll have answers in your inbox. You'll have things that you sent in your sent box. Good? Okay, and that is a good way to communicate, and I check it several times a day. But if you send me a course message and for some reason, you're just anxious, and then send me an email, which does go directly to my phone, and I will try to get back to you because I'll know you're really nervous about something, okay? Quicker. Virtual office hours, there's a link here, and I'm going to show you how it works. This is Blackboard Collaborate. It goes straight into it. You will be joining as a guest, and it's open all the time. I put a Blackboard Collaborate shell out there, a classroom, and I've left it open. So you can go in if you say to a fellow student, can you just meet me in Blackboard Collaborate, meet me in virtual office hours, at a time when I'm not there, it's okay with me, all right? You go in anytime you want to, and you can come in and talk to each other. You can share work. You can do whatever you want to because you're actually set up as a presenter when you go in. We'll make sure that's working right away. But this is one way that I will do virtual office hours. During those time slots, 2 times a week, I'll be sitting there. When you come in, I should be there, okay? So you can come in there and ask questions, and it's really simple. Let me go back here. What else do I have to show you? Oh, there is a discussion forum that I set up for you called Ask the Instructor. This is public. This is not like course messages where you're sending a message just to me. When you put something in Ask the Instructor, the entire class is seeing it. So please don't give me personal problems there, okay? Do that in course message or in an email. But if you have a problem that you think is, one of your fellow students can answer, like, hey, where did she say we found such and such? You can post it there, and if one of you gets to it before I do, that's fine, okay? I've subscribed to this, so every time one of you posts something here, it'll send me an email, and I'll know that I've got somebody's going to ask my instructor, asked a question. And that way, you might want to check, ask the instructor before you ask a question. It might have already been answered, okay? That's that one. Grades should be available. There's some more help for you. ASE, I'll post, like I said, a link to your test reviews. There's another MyLab Math. Don't worry about the PDF upload things. I think I've got everything here. I think I've covered everything. All of these links at the bottom are help with college life. There's Smart Thinking, free tutoring there. There's an awful lot of help out there for you. Any questions on Blackboard? Are we good? Sort of? I know I'm hitting you with a lot. Okay, let me just check my little list and make sure I'm doing everything. Okay, start. Okay, so let's change over and see what we're going to do day by day. Grab that note package that I gave you. And I will grab one too. Now, I've tried to put some things in blocks in these note packages that will actually help you to, kind of remember. And these are like the important things. These are like the mathematical rules, the algebraic rules that we're going to be using for these problems. And if you say, I don't really know what's happening here, then go back and check this, okay? Because it probably makes a lot of notes for you. You should make your own personal notes on this page. I mean, don't just write what I write. Write down anything that you think is going to help you to remember how to do these problems in addition to what I write. Okay, this is how we'll work each day in class. And so I want to just go through some simple, really what we're doing here is just some types of equations. And simplifying equations and solving equations is something that you probably know and should know going into it. But we'll start off really slow and start working with that. And basically what we got to do first And these steps are important. What do? Well, you clear any parentheses first. Then you clear fractions or decimals. And then you combine like terms on each side of the equation. Is this sounding familiar to you? Combine like terms on each side of the equation. Then you get your variables all on one side, your numbers all on one side. And the final step, if you have it, is always division. Don't divide before you only have one term on each side of the equation. So it's not too hard if you remember, the rules. So what happens here? Well, there's nothing to simplify inside parentheses, but when I have a number outside, it means I have to multiply times each thing inside. And how many terms do I have in parentheses? Well, they're separated by addition and subtraction. So I got two terms. I got to multiply twice. In other words, I'm going to take this positive 3 and multiply it times y, and I'm going to also multiply it times negative 6. That will clear the parentheses. I'll do the same thing over here, except look, there's a negative in front of the 3. I'm going to multiply by negative 3 both times. So negative times positive, negative times negative. I really have to pay attention when I do that. Most common mistakes are made there, right? Can you see okay? Everybody? Something's wrong with this. Hang on a minute. Well, maybe not. All right, so when I do that, I didn't really do anything to the 2y, but I said 3 times y, well, that gives me a positive 3y. I said 3 times negative 6, that gives me a negative 18, and then I can come to the equal side. Well, I sort of distributed on that side. Over here, I'm not doing anything to that 6y, but I'm taking a negative 3, multiplying it times y, and I'm taking a negative 3 and multiplying it times 10. So far, so good, right? So each time you go through an equation like this that you're solving, you're really simplifying it one step at a time. It's like washing a layer at a time. Well, that's easier. Now what do I have? It's a whole new math problem each time I do it. This time I'm saying, okay, on this side, and on this side means over here on this side of the equal, on this side of the equation I have some like terms. Well, hey, I can always combine like terms. Terms depend on the variable. This is the y terms, right? So these I can combine. Well, what's 2 plus 3? Thank you. Okay, and then what about that negative 18? Well, there's nothing over there that's like it, so I just bring it down. And then I go over here and I go, okay, like terms. Yep, these are alike. What's 6 minus 3? And nothing can combine with the 30. So I've simplified it one more time. And now I'm to the point where I want the variables, which are the y terms, right, on one side, and the numbers on the other side. Now, you may be really fast and done this before. You can do it in one step. I won't right now, but I will tell you that I always work with the variable term first, and I always look at the smallest variable because I'm going to subtract that smallest variable. Well, the smallest, when I say 5 and 3, well, the smallest is 3. What's the opposite of a positive 3y? Negative 3y. So I will subtract 3y. Now look, whatever I do to one side of an equation, to keep it equal, I have to do it to the other side, right? So, okay, I did that. Over here, those disappear, don't they? And all I have is 30. On this side, I say 5 minus 3. I now have 2y, and I have to bring down my negative 18. So far, so good, right? Okay, now I've got the variables on one side, but the numbers are jamming me up over here, and I've got to get rid of that negative 18. Well, how do I get rid of a negative 18? Somebody tell me.
Move it to the other side?
Exactly, and you move it to the other side, you add 18, like some of you said, right? The opposite of that negative is a positive, right? So if I'm adding and subtracting, I use the opposite. That'll clear it. 2y here, 48 here, and here's where I told you, now we're down to the part where we have one term on each side, right? If you have to divide, that's the only place you do it. Final step. Don't do it early. See this all the time. Students start dividing way up early in the solving of an equation or simplifying it, and they're up here dividing it. It just makes a mess of things. So the only time you divide is when you get down to the very end. If you need to divide, how do I know I need to divide, guys? Somebody tell me, why do I need to divide? It's multiplied. The 2 is multiplied times the variable. Exactly right. Do you hear what he said? That 2 is multiplied times the y. Clearing multiplication, opposite, division, right? So to get rid of this, I'm going to say, okay, divide by the same coefficient, because that will turn it into 1y, right? Well, if I divided that side by 2, I got to divide this side by 2. So now what have I got? Well, 24. Check me, because as I'm talking, I sometimes do math wrong. Did I get it? You good? All right. So that's your first kind of step. Let's go on. We're going to do 4 of these pages today. You didn't think you were going to actually have to do math today, did you? But like I said, we got to cover so much. The only way I know to get you on track and keep you there is this. Now, this is one of those really tricky things that people hate. Let me see. Anybody in here love fractions? Fractions are your favorite things? Okay, well, listen. This is what we do when we see an equation that has fractions. Listen carefully. This is your first step, and it is always your first step. How do I know this applies? Look, it's an equation. It has an equal sign. Okay? And there are fractions in it. And they're all fractions, but that's not the point. Even if I just had one term that was a fraction, I would do the same thing. Okay? You got that? So the first step, make your note over here. My first step is clear the fractions. Always. Even if there's just one fraction, you clear it first. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to have something called a least common denominator. Well, my least common denominator is always going to look at, how am I going to figure it out? It's something that I can actually divide all of those numbers by. I can reduce them, and they'll go away. I'll get fractions cleared. I know that wasn't incredibly clear, so let me just do it this way. You see the largest denominator I've got is a 21. Well, I look at that number and I say, will 7 divide evenly into 21? It does. Okay, 21 might work for my least common denominator. And then I look at the other one and I go, will 6 divide evenly into 21? Anybody? No, it will not. Okay, 21's not going to work. I'm going to try multiples of 21 until I hit a number that works. So I'm going to go over here for my least common, and I'm going to say 21 times 2 is equal to 42. 21 will divide into 42. We just did it, right? So we know that. Will 7 go into 42 evenly? I know it's been a while since you had to do this in your head, right? Yeah. Will 6 go into 42 evenly? Anybody? Yes. So we have it. We found our least common denominator. It's 42. Now what do we do with it? We multiply each term in the equation times 42. Okay? So I'm going to say this one times 42. And I'll have to put that in parentheses. And I'm writing it as a fraction because I'm multiplying a fraction times a fraction. Okay, I'm going to say this is my second term times 42. Once again, parentheses, because there's, 2 terms in that numerator. And this one times 42. Now I put them over 1 because I'm multiplying times a fraction. Now, remember that thing called cross-reducing? Do you remember it? Okay, if I've got something in the numerator and something in the denominator and the 2 fractions are multiplied, I can just divide them by the same number. So I can divide both of these by 6, can't I? And this becomes a 1, and this becomes a 7. I can divide both of these by 7. This becomes a 1, and this becomes a 6. I can divide both of these by 21. This becomes a 1, and this becomes a 2. Now look at what has happened. Look at the numbers in your denominators, bottom of the fraction. They're all 1s. They're gone. No more fractions. We have cleared the fractions in one step. Now, if you do this process and it doesn't work, you end up with something on the bottom that's not a 1, you picked the wrong least common denominator, okay? Start over. But you should come up with all those. Now, let's rewrite the equation. 7 times n minus 5, all of this is over 1, so I can get rid of the fractions, right? Plus n plus 3 times 6. Now, that's written on the wrong side, but you can reverse it if you want to. It doesn't matter. And that's equal to 11 times 2. Did I get it? Is this not a lot easier than what we were just dealing with? If you have an equation that has fractions, don't go getting the same denominator, okay? Don't try to, get them to be like fractions. Clear the fractions and get rid of them. All right, next step. Well, back to where we did what we did before. We got to distribute multiplication. I'm going to say 7 times n, and I'm going to say 7 times negative 5. I'm going to say 6 times n, and I'm going to say 6 times positive 3, and then, of course, I say 11 times 2. You should be able to do that. And if you aren't sure, check. Now, what I've got is a lot of things, a lot of terms on the left and nothing on the right, but simplify, right? Let's see what terms we have that we can combine. Which ones are alike over here? Somebody tell me. What terms do I have on this side? And I've got 4 of them. Count them. Separated by addition and subtraction. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 different terms. So tell me which ones are alike. So this one and this one. So the 7n and the 6n, right? Okay, so let's do that. 7n plus 6n, 13n. Do you see? Now, we've done the ones that are in the squares. Are the others alike or not? Okay, I've got a negative 35, positive 18. There's no variable, so they're just numbers, right? Okay, so we can combine those. Don't forget, the sign is in front, right? So I've got a negative 35 and a positive 18. Okay, here's where my calculator comes in handy, but let me just tell you, if you're adding or subtracting 2 numbers, you subtract them and then you take the sign of the larger one, okay? If one's negative, one's positive, you subtract them. In other words, what I'm really going to say is 35 minus 18. Well, what's 35 minus 18? It's 17. Is that a positive or negative 17? Yeah, because the bigger term was negative. So it's really negative. You can do this with your calculator, I know, and you'll have it. And that's all equal to 22. Now, this should look familiar. At this point, what do I want to do next? Somebody out loud, tell me. Add the 17 to both sides, right? With mask, I can't tell who says what, so you guys are pretty safe in answering. Okay, that's going to clear. 13n is going to equal to, see if I can do this in my head, 39. All right, final step. Do we need to divide? And by what? 13, the coefficient. How do you make this decision? Look at your variable term, okay? The term that has the unknown, in this case it's an n. Look at that term and say, is there a coefficient in front of it? Is there a number in front of it? If so, I'm going to divide by whatever that number is. This one's a 13, divide both sides by 13. That's going to be 1n, and it should equal 3. How are you with that one? Good? Little refresher, and that's basic, guys. I mean, that's the basic bottom line. You got to know how to do this before we go a step further. So if you are not, if this isn't working for you, spend some time here because you will be stuck. You won't be able to go further than where we are, okay? All right, let's take a look now at some keywords because word problems are another thing that you really love, right? Don't you love word problems? Yeah. So keywords, if they put words out there for you and you're supposed to make math out of it, you can look for these words. If they want you to add, they're going to say something like, add some plus more than increased by. This is a good little chart to mark and put a tab on and go back to, all right? If they want you to subtract, they may say subtract, difference, minus, less than, or decreased by. If you see any of those words, it means they want me to subtract. If they want you to multiply, well, they might say twice, they might say 3 times, they might say ob. The word ob, remember ob is always multiplication, right? And divide, okay, that's a tough one. So sometimes it may be quotient, and it might also be ratio. Those are things that cue us in, that we are dividing. Equality, where do I put an equal sign? Well, if it says gives, represents, amounts to, is, was, is the same as, those are the things that are going to mean equal. Let's look at a word problem. The sum, okay, that's add, right? The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 249. As I find these words, I usually just write their symbol right on top of them so I sort of know what's going on. The sum of, now how am I going to get 3 consecutive integers? Well, I'm going to have to set them up as unknowns because they didn't tell me what they were. They told me they equaled 249. You've probably done this problem before. But we're going to make x the first one, And then the next one is consecutive. So what do you know about it? It is x, I'm trying not to say it. It's going to be right next to x. In other words, it's going to be x plus 1, right? Wouldn't that make it consecutive? It's consecutive numbers, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? Okay, so if I want the next one, I say, well, it's got to be x plus 1. That's my second integer. And my third one is going to be x plus what? Yeah. Doesn't that make sense? Now, what else do I know? I know that x plus 1 plus x plus 2 is equal to what?
240.
Okay, so let's do that. We're going to say this one plus the second one plus the third one equals 249. Well, that is such a simple algebraic equation for us to solve now, isn't it? So how many x's do I have over on the left side? Okay, so you think in their coefficient, if it's not listed, is 1. So this is, I'm going to combine them. X plus x plus x, well, that's 3x. And then I'm going to combine the other terms that are not x's, and that's going to be 1 plus 2, or 3. And all of that is equal to 249. And now what do I do?
Subtract 3 off of it.
Yeah, let's get rid of the 3 because it's messing our side up, right, that has the variable. So let's subtract it. $246, right? This is where I'm always thinking ahead to what I want to tell you next, and I sometimes do the math wrong, so you're going to have to check me, okay? Okay, now we're down to the final step, one term on each side, and we have to ask ourselves, do we need to divide? Yes or no? Yes. What are you going to divide by? Okay, good. And this is going to clear. Those become 1s. And now the only question is, what's 246 divided by 3? I fully expect you would pull out a calculator at that point. Okay? Phones won't work for us. We have to have those calculators. So bring them with you every class. And I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's 82. It's 82. Yeah, that is. Okay? So x is 82. The first number is 82. What's the second number?
83.
And the third number? Are those consecutive numbers? 82, 83, 84? And they do add up to equal 249. You good? All right. All right, let's do this one. There's the first aircraft. It has 72 more seats than the second aircraft, and the third aircraft has 30 fewer seats than the second one, and the total number of seats is 384, and we want the number of seats for each aircraft. And some of you at this point are going, okay, I'll just miss that one, right? I don't want to think about it. It's too confusing, but it's really not hard. What you need to look at when they give you something like this is, which aircraft did they tell you nothing about? Well, they told me the first one has 72 more seats than the second. They told me something about that first one, didn't they? Because I know I've got the first one. I know I've got a second aircraft. And I know I've got a third aircraft. So I can go ahead and write that down. The first one has 72 more seats than the second. The third has 30 fewer seats than the second. Which one do you know nothing about, guys? The second one. The second one is X. It's the one they tell you nothing about. The others they told you about X plus something or X minus something, didn't they? They told you in relation to X. So let's go back to what they said. The first has 72 more seats. Well, that's going to be X plus 72. The third has 30 fewer seats. Well, that's going to be X minus 30. And then they told you the total number of seats is 384, didn't they? Yeah? So what are you going to do with these 3 sets of aircraft seats? What do you do when it says total? Yep, and it's an add, isn't it? There's the first one, plus the second one, plus the third one. And all of that is equal to 384. Now, like terms, there's an X, and there's a couple more X's, so I got 3 X's. And there's a 72 minus 30, well, okay, wait, plus 42, right? Next step, let's get that 3x uncomplicated. Let's get rid of the 42 over here. So I'm going to, since it's positive, I'll subtract it from both sides. That goes away. All I have is 3x, and now I have 342. And now I'm going to just take and do my final step. X is equal to, that's a 114. Okay, the second aircraft has 114 seats. The first aircraft has 114 plus 72, doesn't it? And how many is that? And the third one has 114 minus 30, or 84. Okay? Okay. Next, there's a new TV set recently purchased, and it was purchased, and it is including the tax $519.40. The sales tax is 6%. This is the hard kind of percentage problem, okay? Find the price of the television set before taxes. Now, guys, you cannot take 6% of this number and subtract it, because you would be taking 6% of the television plus 6% of the taxes, and that's not going to work. So this is the only type of percentage equation that I know that you really kind of need a formula. And the formula for this one is the original price plus the original times the percentage is what it is, okay? Original times the percent is equal to the final. In this case, it's money we're talking about. Okay, think about what I'm saying. The price of the television plus the price of the television times the percentage of tax, right, is what's going to give me my final. Well, duh, everybody knows that. You shop all the time, right? Isn't that what you do? That's my formula. What is going to be each of these pieces? Well, which do I not know? Television set before taxes. I don't know the original price. There's two X's in there. I know the 6%. Now, I've got to write it as a decimal. And I know the final. So I have an equation. I have X plus X times 0.06 is equal to 519.40. Now you really have to go over this problem maybe again. I'm rushing because now I'm running out of time, okay? You really have to maybe go over this problem again because you will hit this a lot, okay? You're going to hit this one again. So how do I add up an X and an X times 0.06? Well, this is 1X, isn't it? And this is 0.06X. Well, how do I add 1 plus 0.06? Now it's easy, isn't it? Isn't that 1.06? Isn't that right? And that's where we get stuck a lot of times is saying, okay, I don't know, what is 0.06x? It's the same as 3x or 2x. It's just a decimal. So you just add it. And this one doesn't have a variable in front of it, therefore the number is 1, right? So you can add 1 plus 0.06, and it doesn't matter if what's multiplied is in front or behind it. And all of that is equal to 519.40. Okay, so you take your calculator and you say, okay, now I've got to do the final step. It's just decimals. They're just numbers. X is now equal to 519.40 divided by 1.06, which you would find was $490. That would be the price of my television before taxes. Now, if you don't know the original price or the original amount, and they give you those other two things, you got to have the formula. There's no way to do it without it. Otherwise, it's a common sense problem. All of you know how to calculate tax and then add it to, right? That's what most of them are, but this one is not. Go back over that if it's confusing. One more page. Let's look at simplifying a couple of algebraic equations, and I'm going to be fast, but I'm on tape, so hey, you'll be okay. Okay, so this is just a reminder of how to simplify algebraic equations, and this time they're telling us the variable they want to solve for, because look, let's face it, we have two unknowns. We can't solve for two unknowns, can we? We're not there yet. We can't do it. I want the y term to be all by itself on one side of this equation. Okay, so this is the one I want to isolate. I got to get rid of this one. Otherwise, there's nothing to do on these things. I don't have like terms to combine anywhere, do I? I don't have multiplication to distribute. So I got to get rid of a 7x. Well, if it was a 7, you would just subtract 7, right? Well, okay, so do the same thing. It's a 7x. So you're going to subtract 7x from both sides. So what do you have? Well, that goes away. And now I have 5y is equal to 17 minus 7x. There's no way I can combine those two. They're not like terms. Now what do I do? Look at my variable that I'm solving for. It's y. What's the problem here? I've got a 5 in front of it, right? It's multiplied times 5. What do I have to do? By 5. I got to divide that whole side by 5. So these clear, and this becomes y. Now this side looks like this. There's no way to simplify it. I mean, that's it. The only thing that it might look like, other than that, it could be written like that. Be the same thing, wouldn't it? So in a way, what I'm asking you to do is algebra without the numbers. This next problem illustrates what I just said. This time I'm going to solve for a. I don't have any numbers in this thing, but I do have my rules. Distribute multiplication, right? Okay, let's do that. T is equal to, we'll kind of call it 8c, plus, and we always write the letters alphabetically, ABC. I multiplied, I distributed that c, okay? And now, I still want to isolate this variable term, solving for a, so this is the term I want by itself. Well, it has an 8c over here that I need to get rid of. So I'll subtract 8c from both sides. That one clears. This becomes t minus 8c. Like I said, it's algebra without the numbers, isn't it? Okay. Now, I've got it one term, because this is really counts as like single term because they're not like terms. I can't do anything to them. But this thing is multiplied times BC, isn't it? If I want to clear the BC and its multiplication, I have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So how do I clear it? Divide by BC. Well, that reduces to 1, and all of a sudden A is all about itself. That's what I wanted, but I have to come over here and say divide by BC too, don't I? Okay, so what does this look like as a final answer? T minus 8c over BC. That's it, really. But now, look, some of you will look at that and say, wait a second, we've got c in the numerator and c in the denominator we can reduce. Somebody tell me why I can't reduce that. Say it again. Yeah, there's a subtraction up here. These things in the numerator are not all multiplied by each other. If they were, I could reduce. But that is not reducible. The only thing you could do, and don't let me confuse you when I show you this, is you could split it up into two fractions over here, and then you get to reduce this one. So you would have as your answer T over BC minus 8 over B is equal to A. Honestly, these mean the same thing. This is where I would stop, okay? Because that's really all you can do. Okay? All right, your job now is to, if you want to stay in class, is to go out there, do the Start Here quiz in Blackboard, take the diagnostic, go through Module 0 if you want to, and then you need to do your homework. Okay, I think it's Module 1, Homework 1 is all we've covered today in class, and you need to watch the videos for what we're going to cover in class next time. So you got some work. And I'm at the end of your email or course message. Glad to have all of you in class. Did anybody come in after I called roll? We all good? All right. I'll see you on Monday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.